Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, here that you already attend the webinar with us today. May I represent you today? We have several of the speakers that we will talking about International Sharing Forum on Human Rights and Gender Series number 9 about women and education. About experiences and expectations. As we all know, women are also developing their potential in education as well, just like several women that already being with us today. So we will have several speakers. We will start from the opening remarks by Miss Nukila, and then we will have some presentation from Dr. Serene Dalati, and also from Dr. Olgahan Baksi Yalcin, and also Dr. Agustina Fitrianingrum, and then with closing remarks from Dr. Rina Shahrullah. Okay, my name is Nina. I am the moderator of the event today. So I will present you the opening remarks from Miss Nukila Evanty from our partner Women Working Group. To Dr. Nukila, please have a screen.
Thank you, Moderator. Good afternoon from Jakarta. Welcome to the 9th International Series on Human Rights and Gender discussions. I'm Nukila Evanty, Executive Director of the Women Working Group, or WWG. Interesting topic for today, 27 July 2024, Women in Education, Experiences and Expectation. We have women panelists. Doesn't mean that we ignore other male panelists. As I want to continue what moderator has been said about women, women in education. Women continue to encounter numerous barriers that hinders their participation, their chance, their ability to pursue their dream, to complete higher education. So this could be included with the issue of finance, for instance. We don't have money, for instance, from the women from the marginalized group or women from the disadvantaged areas, for instance. And then gender stereotypes and bias, sexism, and societal stereotypes and bias, stigmatization. Our family as well, both systemic and societal, not only affect individual women, but also perpetuate gender inequalities in education and beyond. So, for instance, I want to highlight about when we are studying on our PhD, our or higher education, often comes with many costs. Yeah, if we don't get scholarship, it will be a burden, right? It will be high cost, like the tuition fees, the textbook, what else? The living cost, living expense, or something like that. So women, I cannot imagine for the women from the marginalized communities, if they want to continue, let's say in the national universities, for instance, they have to have a burden on transportation costs and then living expenses, etc. So this is what we call the gender gaps, right? So I would like, I hope, I don't want to take the time from any panelists. So I would like, hope you will enjoy this discussion for today. Okay, I'll give the time to the moderators. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nukila, for your opening remarks. And in this section, we will continue because the first speaker is, I think she's trying to get in back to the Zoom. We shall continue this webinar by starting from the second speaker first. So, Dr. Algahan, are you ready? And can you share your presentation by yourself?
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Olgahan Baksi Yalcin, and I am an English language and literature lecturer at Bolu, Abant, Izzat, Baysal University. And because I'm a literature person, I would like to give some examples from literature first, and then I will move on to more contemporary examples of female education and how it is paramount to express a female voice in contemporary societies. Well, first of all, if we look at the feminist activism and feminist movement in literature, we see three major waves. The first one, the second one, and the third one. And each wave has its own significance. For example, the first one was mainly about political equality and the right to vote and the right to be voted. The second one was more social and cultural, and 1990s and onwards, we observe many other issues regarding females, suppression, oppression, and patriarchal forces going on. And I will talk about it more in my presentation. So let me move on a little bit. When we look at the 19th century Europe and America, we see women's situation were not so good. So number one, they were not allowed to vote. They had no property rights, no legal rights. Well, in many cases, they had no rights even to protect themselves or their children. And when it comes to work, there were very few occupations available for them. And of course, when they did have some occupation, they were not paid equally as men. And of course, Mary Wollstonecraft was the first feminist activist in literature known to us, or I might say that she was a philosopher, she was an activist, and she was a role model for many other feminist literary people, as well as in other fields. When we look at her works, she didn't mainly work, she didn't only care about women and their rights and their position in society, but she also cared about men and their rights. And actually the future of the country depended on both men and women, according to her. And that's why she thought that equal education must be given to both sexes, not only to boys who would be the rulers and lawyers or lawmakers of the country, but women as well, who would be the mothers, the wives, and the sisters of these men. So she proposed some private schools, day school and boarding school. She also supported public schools for both sexes. She also advocated boys and girls should be educated together. Again, she explains this, that they should know how to behave when they are in the presence of the opposite sex. And Jean-Jacques Rousseau was a prominent philosopher from that period. He, for example, proposed in his work Emily, that boys and girls should receive different education. But Mary Wollstonecraft again argued that this should not be the case. They should be taught equal subjects, maths, geography, etc. Again, the reason here to educate young minds, both sexes, girls and boys, at a young age, to be rational and to be able to enhance their critical thinking skills, both sexes, because again, she argues that these young girls would be mothers, daughters, and sisters in the future, and that's why they should take their parts as equal partners with men in both political and social context. So let me give one or two examples from her words. For example, nor will women ever fulfill the peculiar duties of the sexes till they become enlightened citizens. So her main focus was to be enlightened, to be educated, to be able to think critically, till they become free by being enabled to earn their own substance, independent of man, in the same manner, I mean, to prevent misconstruction as one man is independent of another. Again, if you remember the French Revolution, the main idea was to be free, to be an individual, to be independent, to be an independent individual. So women and men, they fought against monarchy side by side during the French Revolution. And this is what Mary Wollstonecraft relies on her own argument, saying that men and women should work, should receive the same education side by side for the betterment of the country, for the future of the country. So because my time is limited, I will move some slides for later. The second figure I choose from literature is from American society, Betty Friedan. She's also an activist from the second feminist movement. When we come to the second feminist movement, we see that it starts approximately after the Second World War. And of course, we should briefly remember that during the war, when men left their places to join the battlefield, women had to step in. Women had to conduct all sorts of professions. And when they went back after the war ended, this time women had to step back to their previous roles, and this created a great turmoil, a great depression, a great conflict in them, which caused again the term called the feminine mystic. Betty Friedan calls this term the feminine mystic because while American women are presented as the ideal women to the whole world, American women were actually suffering from Great Depression because of this conflict, because now they had the right to receive education, they were accepted to colleges, but the main purpose now is not to receive education, but to find a proper husband, a husband who could afford a big house with a yard, a car, who has a good job, who could even afford a summer house, etc. But of course, this was not enough for women, and they even called themselves Mrs. Degree, the perfect housewife, because now they have their degrees, but still they are not accepted to the labor force, they are not accepted to society. Certain professions were allocated for them, such as being secretaries or nurses, but not higher positions. So Betty Friedan conducted a survey among her classmates after some time past their graduation, and she found out that all these housewives were unhappy because, again, they want to fulfill themselves as individuals. They want to use the education that they received from college. Okay, they go to college, they receive education, but it is for nothing. This is how they feel. They become wives and mothers, but still they want to achieve something greater in their lives, to fulfill themselves as individuals. And when we come to this third wave feminist moment, we see different societies, communities, women from different ethnic backgrounds, they started to raise their voice, such as we see bell hooks from Black community. They also argue, obviously, that all the previous feminist activism, feminist movements served only for white women, but not for more marginalized women from different ethnic backgrounds, such as Black community. Audre Lorde is one of them. She was a lesbian, mother, warrior, poet, Black, etc. And she was also talking about the legal rights of Black women who were marginalized twice because of their gender and because of their race. And we see, of course, Spivak. Beatrice Spivak was also another important figure in this context. She also examines the effects of political dependence upon subaltern or sub-proletarian women in the third world countries, meaning India, Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, all the third world countries according to white supremacy. And Mohanty is another figure here. Sorry, let me move us to somewhere else. And Mohanty, again, an important figure in this feminist movement. She also believed in the rights of women, their education of women, in order to be a part of political, social, and economic life, which, of course, would serve the country. Another figure I should be mentioning is I am Malala. I'm sure you're all familiar with Malala, and her story was a role, let's say, a great lesson to many of us, to many societies. In Pakistan, as I'm sure you all remember, that she was shot by Taliban because she had this great passion to receive her education, the right to receive education, not only for herself, but for all girls in the country. And her story, in a way, becomes she becomes a legend now almost everywhere, and how she fought against Taliban, only a little girl perhaps, but her voice now reaches millions of people. Well, when we come to my society, Turkish society, and Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, obviously the founder of Turkish Republic, he, thanks to his revolutions and principles, women also were given the right to vote, to receive equal education as men, starting from 1920s, 30s until now. And in Turkey, we have also certain, let's say, unions like the Turkish Women Union, or we have almost every university has a center now to study gender and how women should receive equal rights in all contexts, including education. And again, another significant problem in Turkey is to end child marriages, and to, of course, people, all of us, we are all fighting against girl brides or marrying younger girls instead of giving them education. I have a very little video, if I can play it now. I'm not sure. Can you hear it? Is the voice coming?
It's not started yet, Dr. Olgahan.
No?
I haven't heard the voice. I don't know.
You're not hearing? Okay. Okay, maybe when I'm sharing it, it should, when I share it, it should also, the voice should also accompany. I'm not sure. Just if you give me 1 second, I have actually almost the end of my time. Maybe it's very short, just 1 minute. Maybe I'll just start it and try in the meantime.
Format video. Okay, I'm trying to play the video also from my my laptop right now, but I think I'd like to help you, but it cannot be played here as well.
Well, when you say
Do you have the link?
share. Yes, sure. I have the link.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you can send it to the chat box, and then I'll help you to play it from my share screen.
Actually, I sent my presentation to Rana yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps
I got it. Your presentation already with me as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you
Rina has
just
sent me, but I cannot click the link of the video.
okay, just a minute.
Try to play it, but cannot. Yeah. Change of font format video.
Share sound. Okay, I think I've done it.
Let me try again.
Okay.
Oh, and it can be heard now. Yeah.
Yes. Done it.
Like so many people in the world, I knew what child marriage is, but not much more. But then I started looking a bit into the issue, and I had no clue how enormously big this problem is.
Child marriage violates her rights to a life free of violence and a life of choice. It deprives her of her childhood. By addressing child marriage, we are protecting universal human rights.
If you tackle child marriage, you are looking at the cause of maternal and child deaths. You are looking at the cause of diminishing development activities in the country. You are looking at the cause of gender-based violence. You are looking at the cause of sexual and reproductive health issues.
This is the issue all over the world. So if we want to stop child marriage, then we need to work in a movement. We need a kind of campaign from everywhere.
We provide a platform for these different organizations that are doing this amazing work on the ground to learn from each other, to share experiences with each other, and actually do their work better.
These partnerships help us learn what is actually working in India, how can we replicate it in Afghanistan, how can we replicate it in Bangladesh and Nepal. One organization cannot make much more difference, but when 10 organizations come together, they are more powerful.
The goal of Girls Not Brides is very simple. We want to end child marriage in one generation.
All of us together, as a collective entity, will solve this problem.
I am as committed to ending child marriage as I was committed to ending apartheid. And we will have a wonderful world when we have women who have been able to become anything they want to become.
So thank you. As we have briefly looked at feminist movement and history over 200 years, starting with Mary Wollstonecraft, the importance of education has been an issue for discussion among women. I mean, not only in the white world, white societies, but in all communities, women from all ethnic backgrounds, they all fight against child brides, and the significance of education for both sexes must be, let's say, our main, I think, point to start from to achieve great deeds in our societies, because when boys and girls receive equal education, then that's the only way, as Mary Wollstonecraft and all the other feminist activists thinkers, philosophers, writers, they all argue the same thing. For the betterment of your country, or to reach a higher level of civilization, you need to educate your girls and boys equally. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So from Dr. Olgahan Baksi, we found out that we can see all the women empowerment movement, feminism movement for the past 100 years, but yet there are still a lot of women, young women, are trapped in the child marriage all over the world. Yeah, we can see it maybe in some part of Asian countries, in Africa as well. Okay, next, for the next presentation, we will have our first speaker come back already. Okay, Dr. Serene Dalati, are you in?
Okay, hello and welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Serene Dalati from, I'm Director of Equality and Sustainability Center at Arab International University. I'm also Head of Management Department at the Faculty of Business Administration at Arab International University. I'm here with you because I want to share with you a working paper, a paper which is under development in the scope of institutional policies and mechanisms for gender equality in higher education at Syria. So I'm going to go, can you hear me? Is everything clear?
Yes, it is.
Okay, excellent. Let me just stop the video. That might give me some internet, extra internet capacity. Okay, so the title of my working paper is Institutional Policies and Mechanisms for Gender Equality. So in so doing, we are in the process of developing policies, sound policies, institutional policies in specific specific initiatives in higher education sector. And since I'm from a private university, so the policy paper that currently we are working on is more in line or more consistent with private higher education in Syria. Okay, gender equality, I think it would be a very good idea to look a little bit briefly at the concept of gender equality and the importance of sustainable development goals, the 17 goals, which were this initiative adopted by United Nations, which was published in 2015. So as you can see, the Sustainable Development Goals have 17 goals in specific different initiatives. Some of these initiatives are in social sustainability, for example. As you can see, gender equality here fall under the social sustainability umbrella, whereas other initiatives are directed towards economical sustainability, and others are in environmental sustainability. Look at 13, 14, 15. These goals stem or are in the direction of the environmental sustainability. Climate action, life underwater, life above land. If we look at gender equality initiative, which is in line, actually, this is a global aspect. This is an action and a goal which has a global aspect with the aim of ending forms of discrimination against women, effective participation, very important action, which is looking at the participation and equal opportunity for leadership, a female representation, women representation at, in my example, university board. So if I want to write a paper about enhancing the role of women, the role of women effective participation and equal opportunities, we may look at female representation, female academic representation at university board. Look at bullet number 3, which combines technology with gender equality. We're looking at technology and the use of technology and the application of technology to promote the empowerment of women. So this is really interesting, because here we're looking not only at, you can't just look at social sustainability nowadays. We're living in a reality. We are in 2024. So this is a reality where we're looking at a combination between economical sustainability with social sustainability, with technological sustainability. So technology and women empowerment, female digital transformation. You may hear this titles. So we're not looking at just digital transformation. Nowadays, we want to look at how digital transformation can also promote the empowerment of women. And if we look at the fourth bullet, which is my area, my current area of interest, adopting sound policies and legislation for the promotion of gender equality. So I could just dedicate the whole 15 minutes to discuss SDGs and the 2030 agenda, which of course, obviously, I'm not going to do that. If we also look at the Global Gender Gap Index, we see that on a global basis, we have achieved only, I'm sorry, the numbers may be not clear, but we have achieved, and this is the statistics of 2024, we have achieved only on a global basis 68%, 68.6 in a global term. If we look at the regions, then vertically speaking, you have the regions, and horizontally you have the indexes and the sub-indexes. So if we look at the indexes, we're doing fair enough, we're good in terms of education attainment, we have achieved very good scores in terms of health and survival. But if you look at the political empowerment, this is where we have to work better. This is where we have to do more than that. On a global basis, not in Syria, not in China, not in India, not in Pakistan, not in Turkey, not in Indonesia, but on a global basis. As it gets the lighter in terms of the blue color, this is an area of concern for us. This is an area of disparity. This is, let me check this second. Look at this figure 1.6. This is the region. You can see, according to the Global Gender Gap, this is published by World Economic Forum. So Europe have achieved like the best score in the rank number 1, closing 75% of gender disparity, compared, unfortunately, to the Middle East and Northern Africa, which closed 61.7% only. If we look at the sub-indexes, as I said earlier, the best score would go to health and survival sub-indexes, 96%, compared to only 22.5%, which goes for political empowerment. And that's the globe. This is a global issue, not Syria only, not a specific region. In a study which was conducted, this is a report which was published in 2015. Are you following me, colleagues?
Yes.
Yes.
Good to know that, because I haven't lost my connection. So you can hear me?
Yep, very clear.
Excellent. So in a study which was conducted in 2015 by Erasmus Plus National Office, this is Syrian Erasmus National, and Erasmus Plus, by the way, is a very important program funded by the European Union. It funds programs, it funds projects in the scope of capacity building in higher education and other initiatives. But in a study which was published in 2015 about the first top 100 Syrian researchers, international researchers, it shows that women researchers, female researchers, account only 8% of these 100 top Syrian international. Clearly, I can strongly argue that Syrian female researchers are a minority. Even if you want to look, I don't have this slide here in this presentation, but if you want to argue on a global basis, if you want to look at UNESCO publications and UNESCO statistics, it would also state that women researchers who work in R&D are also, they account about roughly 27%. But this is, for me, that study, which was in 2015, was a motivator. I was motivated after reading this study to do a project, to work in a project about the empowerment of women in Syria. So in a paper which I published in 2021 about sustainability initiatives in Syrian higher education, I mentioned that we do face challenges associated with the development of training for female executive leadership. We do have challenges and lack of integration of gender issues in courses, for example, at faculty level or at university level. How many courses do we teach at my university, at other Syrian universities? How many courses do we teach about gender equality, about gender issues? In 2019, it was 0. Now it's better after the project that we have been working with since 2019. So we have challenges associated with the development of academic research. Again, we were looking at research in the scope of sustainability and equality, and we're looking at courses, education, teaching in the scope of gender equality and sustainability. But here I'm focusing, of course, on gender equality. Also, we're looking at challenges associating with career support. That was in 2021. In 2023, we officially opened the Equality and Sustainability Center at Arab International University. And since then, we have been developing workshops, we have been developing research. And so this is free project. Just I'm going to spend 1 minute maybe on free project, but this is a capacity building in higher education, which we have developed, AIU, myself and my colleagues from the Spanish University. We in collaboration with partners from Spain, from Germany, from Lithuania, from Jordan, from Lebanon, and from Syria, we developed this project with the scope of empowering women and developing Equality and Sustainability Center. So during this project, we published reports about female academic female situation analysis. So if we look at one of the questions which we addressed in the academic sample, we had like four target groups. But in the academics target group, we published a question. We asked a question about the extent to which the department offer courses which address topics in gender issues, and almost half of the samples, 47.7% indicated it is to a minimum level. Of course, I could have looked, this is a factual question, I could have looked at the faculties and looked at the courses, and I would have concluded the same result. Again, another questions, are you currently doing any research in gender issues? Only 11% answered yes, which means also this is an area of concern. This is an area of development. This is an area of improvement. This is an opportunity that we can capitalize on by publishing research in that scope, by infusing gender in our research, infusing gender in the course material. So in that aspect, under this background, we are currently developing the institutional policy paper where we are looking at different initiatives. If you look at these 5 initiatives, for example, number 1, infusion of gender. So the meaning here is that we want to develop research in that scope, gender equality, gender research, female empowerment. So this is an area where we could work with. And then we have another initiative, which is the revision of HR policies. policies, including incentives for developing research, revision of policies related to establishing equality in terms of economic payment, remuneration. University governance is very important. Female representation at university board, this is very important. And this is not only training and not only capacity. This is related to, I mean, human capacity, but this is related also to developing policies which would promote that aspect. Infusion of gender perspective in teaching at our courses. And this is a really, really interesting area, the sexual harassment policy, because this is undiscovered. Still people are not ready to talk about sexual harassment and the development of sexual. We do have sexual policies, but these policies would need better revision. So from those 5 initiatives, I'm focusing currently on 2, and that is enhancing gender knowledge in teaching and enhancing gender knowledge in research. Looking at this institutional, and for us, this is a huge step for us. If we developing this institutional paper, which would focus for the time being, for the intermediate term, on the following 2 perspectives. To do that, of course, we've looked at the literature review, we've defined the purpose of this policy paper, we have books to consult, and using the terms, locating the secondary sources, locating the primary source, locating the secondary sources, and then evaluate the source. As for the primary data collection and the methodology, where we are currently in the process of conducting reviews, individual depth, expert interview, and group discussion, as well as the secondary resources. Expanding the literature, expanding the general equality concept, identify the information that we need. At which level are we collecting data? How many target groups are we? What is the unit of analysis? All these are, what are the sample frame that we're looking at, and the sources and actual questions on the dimension of equality. So in so doing, the gender equality institutional policy will highlight the importance of gender knowledge, revise the curricula, and we will start with the Faculty of Business Administration, and then we can move to other faculties, support the creating of research task-oriented groups in gender research. So you can even look at gender equality from a vertical aspect at the institution and horizontal aspect. Very interesting, actually. So our recommendation will, the infusion of gender perspective in research and teaching would be to promote teaching and research in the scope of equality between men and women, inclusion of teaching, inclusion of equality in teaching, promote the criteria for specific postgraduate sources, carry out specialized studies and research on the subject, and develop actually financial incentives to motivate female academics to perform research. I mean, the wages gap is a huge topic that we could work with when we revise HR policies. So when we look also at future research, again, revision of HR policies, establishing equality in terms of remuneration between men and women, university governance policy, and the introduction of sexual harassment. I can't say everything that I have in mind in 15 minutes, but thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to deliver this presentation. Hopefully things were fine and I wasn't disconnected. So praise be to Allah that the connection went okay. So any questions later on, I'll be more than happy to answer. But this is just like a simple sample, like a sip from a cup that we have. I mean, reflecting on what we're working with at the moment. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you so much, Dr. Serene Dalati, for your presentation. Your research literally very sided with the women in higher education, because things like the problem that you're stating in your presentations are very common in some higher education, maybe not only in Syria, but somehow in our country as well, in Indonesia. Yeah, we have heard maybe in here, if yeah, because we have a lot of Indonesian student in this event, we are felt the same way. We have seen some very lot of sexual harassment in university environment. Okay, let's go on to the third speaker of this event. We have with us Dr. Agustina Fitrianingrum from Universitas Islam Sultan Agung Semarang.
Okay, so very good afternoon for everyone. Maybe good night for our partners in Turkey and Syria. It is really a good opportunity, and I'm proud to be here as the invited speaker. Thank you, Miss Nina. And yes, after we listen to Prof. Olga and Prof. Serena, we like flying with the helicopter view about the women education in both countries. Now I want to share the experience and expectation women in education based on work-life balance perspective. So it is more closer to my experience as a woman in higher education. So, okay, I want to share this. The next is this one. Before I start the discussion, I would like to introduce one of Indonesian hero. We call her as Ibu Kita Kartini. So her name is Kartini. She was born in 21st April 1879. So it's about hundreds years ago before I born. And she really the one who fight to give Indonesian women to have opportunity to enter the education. So the woman emancipation in Indonesia has been started in 100 years ago. So at that time, when she was born as the aristocrat, she did not allow to enter schools, and also other girls couldn't read, couldn't speak in Dutch, and at that time it was Indonesia was colonialized by Dutch. So at that time, women or ladies is only handle the household things. They do not access for the education. But Ibu Kartini try to push the door and try to open the door for everyone. No, I, Ibu Nina, Prof. Rina, and others are here is because of her effort at that time. So we can read, we can write, and we can speak English. It's a really I want to say, I want to send the best gratitude of Indonesian woman for Ibu Kartini. So from her profile, I want to be a teacher as well. We can see that teacher is really significant to bring community impact. Why? Because woman is the first school for the kids, for the children's, the first teacher. So the woman has, every woman has to get the good quality in education. So they will be able to be a good role model in the family. And in the other side, teaching is really a dynamic work. We meet people. We are not only teaching. We have to collaborate like this, and we have to go here and there, for example, to attend a business meeting. And as a woman, sometimes we feel that it is not safe to go to other cities or other countries if the environment is not really supporting us. And the next that other women in, especially in in Indonesia, we have to be okay. We are allowed to have a career, professional career, but we have also have some portion or a bigger portion, if I can say that, we have to responsible to handle the family member. And in other hand, we have to fulfill the patient. To fulfill the patient as the teacher or lecturer, it is not easy. We have to complete some degrees for teaching elementary school. Minimum is undergraduate, and for teaching university, minimum is make master, and for teaching the doctoral degree, minimum is doctoral level. So to complete this patient, we also need to put a lot of effort, time, and also because as mentioned by previous presenter. And then to maintain the career stability, it is also another challenge. So this is the challenge for a woman who wants to enter the education as the career, as a professional career, and how to balance this. Yes, at this time you are still struggling to balance this. The next is, okay. This is the work-life balance challenges in my career. So the reality, when we want to be a professional lecturer or teacher, we have so many workload. The workload is very variable. From teaching, we have to do research, and we have also how to say,
Community services.
community services. Yeah, so we have to submit submit all of our times for doing our job, and it's not enough. After we do publication, there is also pressure for us to write a good article for the research publication. It really takes time. And another thing is that we also have to do the administrative responsibilities. In Indonesia, who works for university, and I think Miss Nina, Ibu Rina, And me, we are
Set up.
responsible for the administrative responsibility to handle the accreditation. And yeah, this is another task. Instead of that, as a lecturer, we have to get the promotion. In Indonesia, we have 4 level. So from the initial is assistant ahli. So the we call lecturer, and then lector is a senior lecturer, and the associate professor and professor. So these 4 levels we have to accomplish if we want to be a professional professional woman in higher education. So this is our challenges. It's not only I myself that face this, but many women who try to be professional in this area. We have to see this is not we can say, okay, if woman is feminist, and the work is less challenging than men, the reality is not. The reality is this one. And another thing, as I said before, that we have to handle our house as well. So how to, this is only a picture to, to represent what are the women's doing, handle the family, and then all these things. And yeah, this all is the challenges, but these all are also supporters. Why? Okay, this is the first that we have to do self-care. Self-care means mentally and physically. So physically, we have to try to keep up our inner and outer beauty, doing some sport, and takes time for some meditation, and also praying to strengthen our religious aspect that will really be a fundamental things in our daily life. And then the second, institutional support. This is very important because as a woman, we are not only have to perform the things that I said before, but we have also another assignment back doors inside of our house. We have to handle kids. We have to blah, 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 blah. So the policy in the institutional that support for women, for example, a little bit more flexible in time, it will be really support women like us. We okay, Alhamdulillah, I'm working in the university based on Islamic values. So we do not have to, how to say, attend at the strict time, like office hours started from 8. It's not necessarily, because we have our EWMP, apa Bu Nina? Yeah, we have we have minimum
flexible time as long as your duty in the national level is done.
Yeah, thank you, Bunine. So we have actually we have to work minimum 37.5 hours per week, and I think we work more than that. So if the institutional give support policy a bit more flexible, not necessarily to attend at 8 a.m. or 9 p.m. and at the certain time, it will really help us. And the next is time management. We have to manage our time. Yeah, for example, that, okay, we have students and we have kids. So we try to manage what time for our students and what time for our kids. Even, yeah, we want to give, how to say, we want to reach the customer satisfaction from the student side, but we try to manage the time that we have a certain time to give our service as a lecturer. And if it is supported against by the institutional policy, it is really a big support. For example, that, yeah, we do not need to give a reply for students' requirement in a second or in an hour. We can reply at least tomorrow. It is also a big help. And then delegate and collaborate. We have partners, and now we agree that we cannot be a good or the best if we cannot collaborate with others. It will be really difficult for us. And then reflect and adjust. Only we or only I myself or we ourselves that can say, for example, enough. Yeah, enough. So we want to do many research, and we want to publish many publication in year. It is only ourselves that understand our capacity. So this is the cycle of strategy to achieve the work-life balance. This is my proposal of work-life balance is to be healthy and happy. So we want to empower others. It's very possible if we have healthiness and happiness inside of us. That will create more impact for others if we have this inside of ourselves. Okay, I think that's all for me. So thank you so much for giving time for sharing my ideas how to be a professional lady in higher education. Thank you so much. So time is yours, Miss Ninne. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Agustina, for your presentation. Yeah, well, from the two previous speakers, we can hear the movement of woman empowerment in the other side of the world. And from Dr. Agustina, we can hear maybe a lot more about how many things that we need to sacrifice to balance a woman in education in Indonesia. Yeah, being a woman in education sector in Indonesia is not that kind of easy as as I think. Yeah, must be Dr. Rina and Dr. Agustina must know it very well because two of these women actually uh came from Universitas International Batam. Yeah, well, even though Dr. Agustina is already moved, but two of these women are very berperan ya. How to say, like very influencing, yeah. Yeah, and give a lot of effort to build up the Universitas International Batam. Okay, now we're moving on to the next session is the question and answer. Oh, we have one participant that already raised hands, and thank God it's from a man. Yeah, we have Mr. Dr. Fajri Ishak with us. Dr. Fajri, you may turn on your microphone to give a question.
Thank you, moderator and speaker. I was interested in Dr. Baksin and Dr. Serene's presentation. My name Fajri Isra, I have a question. If I may get an opinion from Dr. Baksin first. In accordance with the current title, Women in Education, Experience and Expectation. So, how far the role of education can jointly fight for human rights, or say women rights, and equality in everyday life and various fields of life and work. Because, as we know, education alone is not enough. It must be followed by regulation in daily life, guidelines in work, are also needed in maintaining this quality, especially for women. So, how is also the role of this regulation or policy and policy oversight of its implementation so that equality can be maintained? This is what I would like to ask Dr. Baksin. Thank you. And sorry, may I have a question, another question, please, Moderator?
Yeah, sure,
Yes.
please.
To Dr. Serene Dalati, maybe I have a question. I was interested with your presentation, Dr. Serena. What do you think about the role of the state in this case, in this gender equality issue at the government, even all its people? Because as we know, every country has different culture and politics. And maybe we said political will is different in many countries. At the same time, almost the whole world or international world is asking for us same equality of gender equality with the same standard. This seems not easy, I think, because I think what happened in the Syria, what happened in Indonesia is different in another aspect. Maybe it's the same in another aspect, but it's not easy. And sometimes I said a little unfair because many countries are still struggling to get there, to get the equality standard and share the same ideals on gender equality. So obstacles sometimes come from the government, political will, culture, and even the people in the country, in our country sometimes. So Dr. Serena, what do you think about this? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Serena, Dr. Baksin, and Moderator.
Thank you. Olga, do you want to start
Yes,
answering?
sure. Fine. Well, I want to make sure that I understand the question correctly first. Thank you. What I understand from your question is actually something relevant to policymaking, because reaching equal education, either for men or women, it didn't come easily to countries that I mentioned earlier, like Britain or American society or even French societies. When we look at history and the Western, let's say, societies first. Sorry, something happened here. No, my language is not Indonesian. I'm so sorry. Let me choose it as English. Can I choose it as English? I can't. I think Turkish, English. No. Anyway, so I'll say cancel. So equality is not easy in any matters. When we look at history, you need to fight for it. You need to sacrifice lives, sacrifice many things, families, blood was shed. And if you look at the French Revolution, if you look at British history, if you look at American history, or the whole continent, America, for example. So equality is not easy, not only for women, but also for men. So I see for humanity, reaching equality is not, let's say, easy to reach, but the policymakers I think have to try really hard to achieve it, to bring it to a not only for let's say privileged groups, because if we look at history and in many societies, mostly if you have money, if you have power, and you have endless access to many sources all the time. So the working class or poor people are the ones who suffer most of the time. So that, I mean, this is beyond gender discrimination. Your question is beyond, let's say, the discussion I can provide here, because, as I said, it is directly related to the rulers of the countries, policymakers. If you care about your citizens, or if you care about the equality, the well-being, not only mentally, but also physically well-being of your citizens, you have to find a way to promote, to implement equality in aspects of society, not only in education, but also in labor force, in politics, wherever you can think of. So, of course, as simple people like us, we are people from the street. How can we make this happen? Perhaps we can now and then raise our voice and tell our issues to people who have the power to change things. That's why, if you live in a democracy, in a democratical environment, it might be easier. But if the political system of your country is far from democracy, your situation, in general, I'm talking about general, the situation is even worse. And there has to be, as the history shows us, you have to fight for it. I am sorry. This is my understanding of your question, but equality, as I said, is never, it never comes easy. And you have to fight for it. Sometimes you have to sacrifice people, money, material things, your even position. And it's difficult. It's not easy. I hope I have answered your question. If you want me to elaborate more, please say so.
Okay, Fajri. Let me give you a piece of advice from my very humble experience. I think number one, you have to look for something which is very local from your side, from your city, from where you're living. So you have to look for a local problem and try to connect it with a global problem. If you can do this, this is very interesting. This is a very successful project that you can work with. This is number one. Number two, I think answering your question about policies and about the role of the government, I think we need to understand a framework so that we can work with effectively, and that is starting from individual. So if you want to look at gender equality and the fusion of gender equality, so we have to look at different levels, from individual level, and then we have to move to a group level, and then we have to move to an institutional level. And all of this, we are still within the institution. We do have laws which are work-related laws, national laws. But if you look at religious laws, so you have a difference. And then we have this difference between state laws governing work, governing employment, governing the equality of men and women. Yes, we do have these laws in Syria, and they are very good laws. They need revision. Many laws at our side need revision and update, and that is the case in many countries. That is the case in Indonesia, that is the case in India, that is the case in even the most developed countries. But when we look at the laws which are established by religion, so the interpretation of religion and specific laws related to inheritance, laws related to domestic life, this is where we have a difference between state laws and religious laws. So where does the government come here? Is it about capacity building? Is it about educating women only, as you said? Is it about sending them and giving them the best education? Okay, we do have very high percentages of women in Syria who are educated. They have master degrees. But if you look at labor participation, the percentages are still not adequate enough, which means there is a difference between education levels and then labor participation levels. Why? And then when you move from master degree to PhD, and actually women who are working as research, the percentages start dropping. And this is what we call with the leaky pipe. So the pipe goes on very well. Bachelor degree, they are very good. Globally speaking, 50% are women. They have bachelor degrees. They have master degrees. But when you go to PhDs, they start shrinking. They start leaking. And this is what. And then women who work in research and development, they start leaking until they become 27%. So globally speaking, only 27%. Women take only 27% of researchers. What I can say, we have long way to go, more than 100, and that's what reports, that's what UNESCO report says, that's what the Global Gender Gap Index says, that we need more than 100. I'm not sure about the exact number for us to achieve.
I think she lost connection.
Yeah, I think.
Put women, put girls into education, educate girls, send them to schools. You need regulations, you need policies. Sorry? Okay. So quota, what about infusing quota to achieve a certain level of female participation? Some people are against the quota, gender quota, even if it's based on merit. So our best choices, number one, we have a long way to go. Number two, we have still steps to do. And we're not gonna harness the fruits of our labors next year or in 5 years or even in 10 years. So our best chances is to keep on working on capacity building, raising awareness. We need to raise awareness, social awareness. And then policy implication. I think we have to move gradually, but with specific steps. Thank you. I hope I answered some of your inquiries or the question that you have in mind. So it's a collaborative work. It's a work which collaborates society and the social institutions and the religion and the government. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. Thank you, Dr. Olgahan.
Thank you, Dr. Serene. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the answer from the speaker. And thank you for the question, Dr. Fajri. And so shall we continue to the second questions now? And the question is from Miss Jochebed Arumdika from Fakultas Hukum Unisri Solo. Okay, Miss Jochebed, are you going to explain the question yourself, or shall I read it for you for the forum? Do you want to say it yourself?
Is it possible for me not to turn on my camera?
It's okay. It's okay. You can go on for the question.
Okay. First of all, let me say good afternoon to all of you, especially to Ma'am Rina and to Ma'am Agustina. Glad to see you virtually. Okay, then my question is for Dr. Olga. So basically, child marriage is a relevant issue here in Indonesia that mostly happens in poor families, and then a fact that most Indonesian are Muslim. And please correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not a Muslim. As far as I know, that Muslim believe that it's better to have a husband than a boyfriend because the parents thought that have a boyfriend is a sinful thing. So it's better to just marrying off their daughter. But in fact, that's not a solution. And sadly, it becomes what to say. It becomes a new problem for the doctors who got married. So, what is the best approach to persuade or convince those kind of parents that marrying off their children isn't a solution? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. It's a good question. Thank you. Well, it brings the question itself answers some of the things that I wanted to say, anyways. But let me give my personal opinion on it. Number one, because of certain religious and cultural reasons, people prefer their daughters to be married rather than having boyfriends or socialize with the opposite sex. This is true, but most of the time, poor families prefer to marry their daughters for economic reasons. Sometimes. Let me talk about it first. Number one, in Turkey, not everywhere, but in certain parts of Turkey, girls can be sold and bought. So if you have a lot of children and if you don't have enough income to support all of your children, you can marry your elder daughter and receive some money in return from the family of the bridegroom. This is one way of actually preventing child marriages. Again, my approach would be to increase economic support for such families. So it is the duty and role of the government to prevent child marriages by providing enough sufficient economic support for such families. This is one reason for marrying off children, young girls, in some cases, in some countries, in some parts of the world. And economic support is one. Another reason would be, as I mentioned earlier, religious and cultural ones. But in that case, I think families should be informed about the consequences of marrying your daughter without any education. Your daughter can get married and will get married if she desires in the future, but without any education to have independence, financial independence, or even if she doesn't want to work, at least she has to have her diploma in her hand to support herself. Because again, just as child marriages, women killings and violence against women, these are also very common issues in some parts of Turkey. And it is a direct result of the demand to get a divorce. If your daughter is not happy in your marriage in the future, let's say her husband beats her or goes out and have fun all the time, not caring his family financially or emotionally, etc. If the divorce is an option, let's say, or inevitable, then your daughter must have her own financial powers to protect herself and to protect her children. So this is a big topic. That's why I said it is a good question, but it has many facets. It has, we can talk about it, discuss it for hours and hours. But again, my personal opinion is, it is the role of the government to enhance or to provide laws to protect younger girls getting married, let's say younger girls or girls under 18, let's say, should not be able to get married. And sometimes people do not care about laws. They still marry their daughters off. They do so. But when they get caught, if somebody calls the authorities and tells them that, okay, there's a wedding going on, she's underage, the bridegroom and the family of the bride must be penalized, or in some countries it is the case anyway, they receive a lot of fines. So the laws must be also deterrent, meaning that you shouldn't be able to dare to even act against the laws and regulations, rules of the government. So here again, this is one option. And again, talking to the parents, raising awareness, telling them how it is important for their community to have daughters to receive education, at least basic education. I don't mean that they should of course they should continue with higher education. That's please do not misunderstand me. But everybody, girls and boys, must receive minimum high school level education. Again, I would name Mary Wollstonecraft once more here, because it was her idea that without male support, without male, let's say, interfere, women cannot empower themselves, because we live in a society. We have husbands, we have sons, we have brothers. We need to be together, side by side, whatever the difficulty, whatever the challenge before us. We must fight hand in hand to come to a better and more civilized and healthier environment, both physically and mentally. So again, perhaps increasing the level of the education of the parents would be one way of preventing it. But again, as all the other panelists mentioned, especially I like to thank Dr. Agustina to who gave us some her personal perhaps experiences, but personal is political, meaning that her experiences are our experiences. Sometimes I have a teenage daughter, and when I ask her to clean her room and help with the laundry, and if I say more than two things at one time, she says, I'm not an octopus. But as mothers who are also strive to be academics in patriarchal societies, we have to act like octopuses. We have to be multitasking. We have to be handling housework, husband, family, friends. Sometimes we sleep less. So there's always a sacrifice for all of us. If you want to achieve something, you have to sacrifice another thing to achieve that. So if we come back to the question again, it's not easy. It's very difficult. It's hard work, but we must keep trying to end child marriages, to end violence against women, killings of women, etc. There are many other issues, but I do not want to take any more time. There might be other questions. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much for your enlightenment, Dr. Olga.
Thank you, Dr. Olgahan and Ms. Jochebed for the question and answer. Okay, we have one more questions in the chat box to all the speakers and one raised hands from also our panelist, Dr. Rina Shahrullah. Maybe we can continue the questions from Miss Dini Marcelia first, then we continue to the Ibu Rina. Miss Dini, are you going to say your questions by yourself? The question is generally to all speakers, so maybe all the panelists could give a brief answer.
Thank you, Miss Nina. Thank you for the opportunity. I apologize for not being able to turn on the camera. Based on reality, as we know, many women who don't receive a higher education or drop out of school often lead lives that are not independent, relying heavily on relatives. However, in gender inequality in education is also influenced by the cultural norms present in communities or family. My question for any speaker is, what are the most effective strategies to combat cultural norms that hinder girls' education in obvious communities? Are there prominent cultural that strikes in Syria or Turkey or maybe Indonesia related to gender inequality in receiving education that cannot be handled by the government? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Dini. So the question in the already put in the box, we can start the answer from maybe Dr. Olgahan, from Dr. Serene, and Dr. Agustina. In the meantime, maybe we have like more about 5 minutes for the Q&A answer. So please have your brief answer.
Okay.
Okay, start from who is it? Dr. Olgahan maybe or Dr. Serene?
Okay, I couldn't actually. Can somebody?
Oh yeah.
Can someone rephrase the question?
Oh yeah. What are the most effective strategies to combat cultural norms that hinders girl education in various communities? Are there prominent cultural norms in Syria, Turkey, or Indonesia related to gender inequality in receiving education that cannot be handled by the government? Okay.
I think there's a...
Okay.
Serene, can you speak? Yes, okay. You go first.
Olga, start. Olga.
Well, it is relevant to what I already said.
You go first.
Previous
Dr. Olgahan already give some like insight that quite similar to this question. So maybe from Dr. Serene and Dr. Agustina.
Okay. I've been working on gender equality, and that's this is a personal example. Since 2018, I became aware of my European partners, the Spanish University for Distant Learning. So I've started grasping the understanding and awareness about the term. What does gender equality if I ask the group here, what do we mean by gender equality? Do we really know the term, the definition of the term? Why am I asking this question? Because even we asked this question in 2019 while we were conducting a situation analysis, and many participants who are academics, and so they are the cream of society, they didn't really grasp or know the meaning of gender equality, that this gender equality is not about your biological sex, but this is about social roles by men, social roles by women, and from one society to another, these roles are variant. So I think our best strategies and that's my personal experience, that we can do is to follow a certain framework where we first build capacity, and building capacity is training and education, okay? And we need the skills. We need to build skills. We need to empower women. And that's a long way to go, but we have to follow a certain framework, and that include building capacity. And then we have to raise awareness. So raising awareness on a social level, doing workshops, infusing workshops on a social level, events, that would be very helpful. Education, elementary education. Do you know the best strategy? The best strategy is start teaching boys and girls about equality from elementary level. This is where we are maybe missing. The importance of teaching the philosophy of equality. That equality is not about ditching your religion, not at all, but it's the misrepresentation of religion which got us into this situation. So we have to start with elementary schools at a very, very early age, where we teach boys and girls about equality, and we keep educating them. And then at a later stage, we have to raise awareness. So this is the social aspect. This is the workshop and events where we can do at the social aspect, and the regulations, the government. The government would be in terms of the laws, in terms of the policies that can be developed. It's a very difficult question. And so answering this question would need actually a lifetime to answer. But as a framework, I think we have to build capacity, we have to raise awareness, and we have to engage the community engagement, policy formulation. Thank you.
Can I add one more thing here? Thank you, Dr. Serene. On top of what you have already said, I want to also add that education starts in the family. Whatever your religion is, whatever your community is, it doesn't really matter. Our first teachers are mostly our mothers, and perhaps sometimes our fathers. So parents, mostly mothers, I think, must be educated first. I mean, constant education. It's like life. I mean, certain things. I don't mean academic subjects. I mean other stuff, like how to help your child to be autonomous. How to teach your child to raise his or her voice against injustices at school. How not to be violent against his or her peers, but how try to solve problems by talking. Such things, like as Dr. Serene mentioned, social aspect, perhaps psychological aspect of education must be brought forward. And when parents are constantly educated, like now and then, every 2 years, like we also receive in-house training every 2 or 3 years, parents also, because they are so busy with fighting life. Parents are they are fighting against domestic issues. Usually fathers are fighting financial issues outside, so it's not easy for any of us. And thank you. That's all I wanted to add to what Dr. Serene already mentioned. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to add on what Dr. Serene and Dr. Olga said. Dr. Serene already gives the framework how to improve access for education, especially for girls. I just want to give a more practical one, that the role of mentor is really powerful. Role model is very powerful. Honestly, my role model is present, attend this event. She's Professor Rina. She's the one who encouraged me to continue my study to a doctoral program at that time, because still in Indonesia, for women who have higher education, especially for the highest one, doctoral level is really challenges. And so many consideration about that, but the role model is very important. And then, okay, for now we have Kampus Mengajar. So that's the program from the government that try to give or to connect the students in university to teach the students in elementary schools that have a lower quality. So this is kind of giving a connection between the role model. Oh, I love this sister. I love this brother. I want to go higher study like them. So this is the function of the role of a mentor. And the next is government. Government really have a big sorry. So government have a big responsible to give a special access for the students to get a higher scholarship now, to get the finance to go for their higher education. So they provide scholarship, infrastructure, and improve the quality of education. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Agustina, for the answer. And we all heard from all the discussions from Dr. Olgahan, Dr. Serene, and Dr. Agustina. And now we're moving on to the closing remarks from Dr. Rina Shahrullah. To Dr. Rina, please have your time.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Nina. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good evening. I don't know, probably it's already midnight to the other part of the world, to Dr. Serene and Dr. Olgahan. Thank you so much for the very interesting and challenging discussions that we talk about education. So one thing that I would like to comment from my side, that when we talk about education, most of us actually like to relate it to schooling, okay? But education is broader than schooling itself, because education could be formal, like go to school, non-formal or informal. So the Indonesian government actually divided education in three types: formal education, informal education, and non-formal education. As for formal education, compulsory education is 12 years. It's mandated by the law, but unfortunately not many people can enjoy even the compulsory education. It's a very basic education for 12 years. Okay. But the basic education is starting from the family. I agree with all of you that family is actually the main factor to educate the children. So the mother, father, okay, and all members of the family should be educated, whether it's through formal, informal, or non-formal education, because Indonesia is very active, try to build the capacity of the children and also the female members of the family to educate their children. But the challenge is there, because most of the children today in Indonesia, they prefer to look at the TikTok, okay, YouTube, rather than to talk to their parents. So they learn basically most from the gadget. Okay, again, it's very interesting discussions. We learn a lot about the education from different countries. Today we have Dr. Serene from Syria, Dr. Olgahan from Turkey, and also Dr. Agustina from Indonesia. So inshallah, next month we are going to have another topic which is very interesting. It's about assessing the public health, public care system from different countries. I would like to invite any of you who would like to become speakers or to contribute in this next session, or if you have friends or colleagues or whoever are interested to become the resource persons in the next sessions regarding public health, please inform me. You can email or you can text me. Okay, and again, I would like to say, this alarm says 6:00. Okay, and again, thank you very much to our moderator, Ibu Ninne, and also our partner from WWG, Mbak Nukila. And I hope that all of you who are here today, you can learn and you can also share about the importance of education. And also, please participate in our next topic, next webinar. Inshallah, we will regularly monthly webinar, so with the different topics. That's from me. Thank you so much, and see you inshallah next time. Bye for now. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. Rina, for your closing remarks. And now we're coming to the end of the session. Thank you so much for all of the speakers that already attend. Thank you for all the participants that already attended at this event as well. That's all from me. Thank you, everyone.